Hello, everyone, and welcome to another inspiring episode of Empower Her Voices podcast. This is a podcast where we share and where we discuss about different insights, narratives, and perspectives revolving around the empowerment of women. And today, we are glad to have a distinguished guest with us who is actually an authority when it comes to the passionate advocacy of STEM education across the globe. So we have with us Mr. Ken Hackett, and we are so excited to have you with us. So, Mr. Ken, welcome to our episode fifth of Empower Her series. And Mr. Ken, so before that, we are going to talk to Mr. Ken. Let me give you a brief introduction of what Mr. Ken has been doing so far. So, he is the president of National STEM Honor Society, which is doing a tremendous job when it comes to the education of STEM education, when it comes to the global expansion of STEM education for women, girls, and for all the genders around the globe. And they have done some exceptional work when it comes to the clarity of STEM education and how it should be deployed in any institution. He's also the founder of Hecht Company LLC, and he's a motivational speaker and a passionate advocate for STEM education across the globe. He has also served as the past board member at Seaside Sustainability and Peer 58. And above all, he is the champion for inspiring students when it comes to pre K to career. And he is a civil engineer as well. He has done his civil engineering from the University of Illinois. So, Ken, we are so glad to have you with us, and we would like you to share your journey with us, starting from where is like the passion for STEM. I went through your profile and it was there that when you were a kid in grade 4 and 5, so the passion was still there. And I really liked the line when you said that at that time even the title for STEM was not even recognized, and later on it came. So over to you.
Well, let me say I am so honored to be with you, Faiza, today. We're coming from Boston, Massachusetts. It's a relatively early morning here. I know it's the evening there, so thank you for staying up late. Uh, I am Ken Hecht. I'm the president of the National STEM Honor Society. A little bit of background. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm the son of a Chicago firefighter. And this is my father's retirement ring from the Chicago Fire Department. So I'm one of five children, and my mother and father never went to college. And I was fairly good at math and science, and I was lucky enough to go to the University of Illinois at Champaign, Illinois, which is one of the finest engineering schools in the United States. So I got very lucky. So what really drives me and drives my desire to help kids is to not have them be lucky and end up at a great university by accident, really, as I did, but to really from pre-K to career to plan out and get excited early on in life so that they really start early and have STEM excitement last a lifetime. So that's really what it's all about for me. So that's really where I'm coming from in terms of my desire to help kids in STEM all around the world. And we'll go over a little bit more if you'd like, Faiza, about where we are on United States and international, if you'd like, anytime.
Yeah, yeah, please, please, we would love to know about that, please.
Okay, so we started in the United States, and we are in the majority of states in the United States now. The National STEM Honor Society is an honors society. So that means we are a student centric organization where if the students do the required things, they get recognized. So that is the National STEM Honor Society recognition. There are very recognition societies for schools. You know, schools get recognized. There's the International Baccalaureate Schools, there's the Cambridge Schools, there's the Cognia Schools, all fine organizations. There's recognition for educators, Educator of the Year, STEM Educator of the Year, all these credentials that they can get. However, what's lacking is the student recognition across the world. So what we are is a student recognition honor society where when the students do the things that are required, they get recognized for it. And their parents get very excited, their families, their aunts, principals, all the educators get very excited about this recognition. Very important to understand that our motto is from pre-K to career. So if
Hmm.
you want a very good, I know I'm speaking to Pakistan, so and other countries around the world, but if you want a really great cricket team, you don't start the kids playing cricket when they're 15 years old. I am sure that they cricket practice and teams when they're very young, right? To get going, the kids are very excited about cricket. So it's the same thing. We use that sports analogy to say that what we want is we want the students to begin their STEM journey early in pre-K. And so what happens at the National STEM Honor Society, not only do we start early in pre-K, but when the students achieve the things that are required, they get the award every single year. They get it in pre-K, then K, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way through all the lower and upper school level
Okay.
through university, and then they're ready for career. Imagine the students that are applying to universities, either in the United States or throughout the world, and they have in their upper school education, what we would call high school, National STEM Honor Society recognition. First year of high school, second, third, and fourth year. It's very impressive to have on college resumes. So this is the key is to be in the National STEM Honor Society year after year after year after year after year. And we have medals and certificates and all this great stuff that allows them to document and celebrate their year after year of achievement. And so what happens if one of the students does all the way through kindergarten, through what we have 12th grade here at the United States, they would have fully 6 months of work week of six months of project based learning under their belt. So it's a huge focus on project based learning because
Okay.
that is really where the future, where the
Hmm.
future is to get these kids really into project based learning and enrichment. So that's a little way deeper than that, but Faiza, that's a little bit of a summary, and I'm totally prepared to answer any questions or go anywhere you want to go.
Great, great. It's phenomenal that the work that National STEM Society is doing. So I wanted to ask, you've mentioned a concept that you focus on recognition of the student. So is it like recognition in terms of the skill that a student has? Or I would like to know more about this recognizing the student, because you have used this term like multiple during this conversation. So what's like inside this thing?
Exactly. There are three requirements. Okay.
Okay.
The first requirement, and as we expand, we're currently expanding in 27 countries across the world, and we understand that they all have different grading systems,
Yeah.
and in fact, some do not have grading systems. So what in the United States we have called a grade point average, which is an
Okay.
analytical grade point,
Right.
average. And in the United States, it would be a 3.0 out of a 4.0 system, or what we would call a B average. However, we are very sensitive and very understanding that different countries and different international baccalaureate school have their own grading system. There's
Mm.
American schools, there's British schools, there's all the schools of Pakistan. They may have all their own grading systems. So what
True.
we like to do is to translate that requirement into an equivalent requirement of either the school system that we're talking about or country and even state or region that we're talking about. So that's requirement number one is grades. You got to have a B, the equivalent of a B average in STEM subjects only. So that
Mhm.
includes mathematics, science, technology, all the
Okay.
so it's math and science classes. Okay, those
Right.
are all STEM, science, technology, and your math. The second
Hmm.
requirement is number of STEM classroom hours. So this would be science, technology, engineering, and mathematics classroom hours. And those hours, as you can imagine, for a young student, we're very, there are less hours required. And as they get through the upper levels of school and onto university, those requirements increase. But it's the number of hours of mathematics and science and technology and engineering classes, not history, not French, not English,
Okay.
STEM. That requirement number two. And then number three is a very exciting requirement. This is the number of hours on an annual basis of
Okay.
project-based learning and enrichment. And so this
Right.
is our third requirement. And as you can imagine, as young kids, we're most interested in experiential and pre-K and K and grades 1 and 2, where what we want them to be is up to their elbows in some sort of fun goop. And they're
Mm,
really having a good time, and they're learning about nature, and they're learning about interesting things. Because what we want to do at grades pre-K to 2 is we want to be a bright, shiny object that attracts their attention very
mm,
early in their life, so that we get them very interested in science, technology, engineering, mathematics early in their life. And then, as you can imagine, the number of hours of
mm,
based learning and enrichment increase over time. And as the kids get older, it really is much more about, robots, drones, coding, sustainability, wind,
mm.
weather, meteorology, science fairs, first robotics, Lego competitions. I mean, all these kinds of things, artificial intelligence. So really the project learning portion of this is a really exciting part where it can be very customized. And it's really, it's probably the most exciting part of it all for the students and the educator, because they get to work on all very interesting, and we don't dictate what those things are. So if there's a school system or a school or even a group of kids or one child who's very into sustainability in the environment, they can do their project-based learning enrichment in that. If another one is into robots and drones, they can do that. So it's very flexible in that respect. And what we have is we have thousands of resources on our website, and those
Great.
resources are sorted into 23 different categories. Okay, so there would be robots, drones, curriculum, continuing education, personal
Mm,
development. There's artificial intelligence, all these different 23 categories, and it's all sortable by grade level. So we have for the younger kids, the medium kids, and the older kids. So
mm.
a school or signs up for a chapter, they have access to all these resources. Some of them are free. It's the Smithsonian Institute in
Okay.
Washington, D.C., it's the Museum of Science in Boston, it's
Mm,
MIT and Harvard. They have all their own free resources that are available all over the world for free. Then there's
mm,
paid resources, Carolina Biologic, Vernier Technologies. I mean, all these other organizations and companies that there are fees involved, but they're all summarized on our resources section. So that is really the world at your fingertips that
mm,
allows you to pick and choose the kinds of things that you want to do for your project-based learning enrichment, or come up with your very own things to do to fulfill
mm.
the requirement. So as you can see, we're very student-centric,
Student centered.
student-centered. What does
Mm,
pull everything together? Put together the robots and the drones and the science fair and the math club and the biology club, and pull those all together, give the students a track to run on and to
okay.
achieve. So that's really, really what we're all about.
So, it sounds like, so it's like a holistic experiential learning experience that you guys are kind of creating and delivering to worldwide, schools where you're targeting, if I'm not wrong. Because it sounds like holistic, because you're talking about sustainability, you're talking about science, you're talking about nature, you're talking about literacy, numeracy. So it's the wholesome development of a child when it comes to what National STEM Honor Society is doing. Is that so?
Yes, think of it this way. Think of
Okay.
think of a 10-year-old girl, okay,
Hmm.
a 12
Hmm.
year old, and say they're going to live to 80 years old. Okay.
Okay.
So that child is going to experience 70 more years of technology, of
Hmm.
science, of accomplishments. Cancer will be gone. People
Hmm.
living on Mars. I mean, unbelievable what they're going to experience. So
Yes.
it is that real based on project based learning, so that you understand the process of
Hmm.
setting a goal and understanding. Well, let's try this, let's try that, let's do this science fair, let's learn robots, let's do all the kinds of things. So yes, you are correct, but it's fascinating to me to also understand that there's a leadership component here. So what
Hmm.
we need is your girls that you're focused on is to actually not only become more proficient through project-based learning, good grades, and classroom, all science and math science
Mm.
hours, but to really develop as leaders, because we need really, really incredibly bright leaders of young women who are going to lead us into this incredible next 50 or 60 years. Can you only imagine what the next 50 years is going to be like? We need leaders. So the National STEM Society is a lot about developing these leadership capabilities as well.
And leadership, specifically for women and young girl, is actually the need of the hour for this global village in which we are living nowadays. And you have seen firsthand how STEM education is shaping the future of these young leaders who are actually going to be the custodian of this global village. So, what do you think if we talk about outside classroom activities? So, what are like the different creative ways that STEM Honor Society is doing or plan to do for those girls? Because at times kids are not interested in certain topics or certain concepts, right? And what I can actually understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, that your society is actually creating an environment in which student engagement is at the topmost priority, and you really need to engage the students so that they should be able to learn something out of it. So if you can just share like any most important strategies that you have already implemented somewhere in the global, like when you were reaching out to schools and it were like effective as well, so that the educators out there, they can also kind of get something out of it.
Great. Uh, Excellent question. We are focused on forming a community of
Okay.
STEMmy students, STEMmy kids. In
STEMmy kids,
areas
right?
of the world, sports, are sort of the most important thing. And
True.
sports heroes, and there's political heroes, and there's music heroes, and there's performing arts, and there's stars. Where's the
Yeah.
community for that child who's very
Mhm.
STEM oriented, who's like really loves mathematics or really into robots or drones
True.
or whatever it be? So what we're doing is we're forming the community for that
Mm.
for that child, so that they can now have their own group and that they can help to find themselves and be part of a community that's very supportive, and they really feel at home because this is their now, right? So think of it as an equivalent of a sports community, but that camaraderie that gets built, sport team, etc. Right?
Great, great. So, Ken, talking about this leadership, which you have already mentioned, STEM careers have traditionally been male dominated, right? And now, actually, organization like yours, and then we are actually trying to break those barriers where there's this gender specific thinking or perspective should be eliminated, and it should be rather on the basis of equal opportunity for whatever the gender is going to be. So what do you think, what is going to help these educators specifically who are pursuing for STEM education to actually broaden the mindset of those girls, young teachers or students, to actually feel empowered that yes, they can have amazing careers when it comes to STEM, may it be science, technology, engineering, or mathematics? Because as you have already said, that STEM is actually the future where we are heading towards. So, how do you see this thing?
Well, I see it in many different areas that need to be done, in particular, what you're doing right now. I want to congratulate,
Thank
because
you.
you're joining a community that's a worldwide community of many, many organizations and governments that are focused on this very issue. Okay. Just over the weekend, and if your viewers would like to look it up, I was the host at the annual STEMinist Ball in Atlanta, Georgia. And that is, we have our chairperson is Dr. Maxine Kane, and Dr. Maxine Kane is the founder of STEM Atlanta Women, and her goal in life is to help girls of color, black and brown, to
Okay.
excel in STEM and science and technology, mainly, some elementary, but mainly middle and high school. So
Right.
we were at the STEM, I was at the STEMness Ball black tie event, 650 people in Atlanta,
Wow.
Georgia, and we recognized 5 of our chapters and the young women of color who have really just done amazing things. Some of them are already getting credits at MIT. They're doing robotics, they're doing drones, they're doing all these incredible projects. But what we're doing is we're honoring these young women, and we're honoring them in a most uh, motivational way. They're wearing ball gowns. Now, I know everyone can't wear ball gowns and get
Right,
this
right.
them. But what I'm saying is that we are making just such an effort to recognize and to make being a woman in STEM, a young woman, a girl in
Hmm.
STEM, making it cool, making it desirable, and making it respected. So
Wow.
there are, girls who code, there's black girls who code, there's hundreds and hundreds of organizations around the world that are, I'm sure you're familiar with many of these
Yeah,
organizations, including
yeah.
your own, that are very focused on this, because in a world, if this is the average, percentage of people who are going into STEM careers and have STEM educations,
Hmm.
their college degrees in engineering or physics or mathematics, right? And the percentage of those that are girls are here, so it's a lower percentage. And this is a gap. What is the problem with that gap? Of course, it's a problem with the
Hmm.
girls themselves, because they're missing out on the opportunity to really excel and to have rewarding careers in interesting scientific and mathematics and educational fields, perhaps.
Yeah.
But the world is missing out because we're not getting the benefit of those
Right.
incredible minds, right?
Yes.
We need
True.
those
True.
minds. We need those female girls and young women to get
Hmm.
excited about STEM, to participate in the world, and bring uh, their own feelings and their own way of doing business, that they can really help the world. So this is not just from the child's perspective, is what I'm saying. Okay,
Hmm.
it's really
Hmm.
from the world's perspective,
This
that we
perspective.
need to tap this resource of these incredible minds. And if we're successful, we're going to help the world, because of all these more girls will be going into STEM and really
Hmm.
staying
Yeah.
there. So it's a huge issue, and there's a whole bunch of us. I like to call it, we're all pushing the same rock, same,
Okay.
and that's what we're doing together. We're pushing the same rock up the same hill. So it's a thrill to have you here. I'd love to introduce you to Dr. Maxine Kane of STEM Atlanta Women, and others who are of like mind with your organization and what you're trying to do. Because when we unite and we do things together, we'll have more of an impact than if we do it separately.
True, very well said that with unity comes impact, and to actually scale it on a global level, we all have to join hands together. So, Ken, talking about the educators, and you have shared few of the perceptions as well. So, what do you think are some of the common misconceptions or misunderstandings when it comes to the implementation of STEM education from the educators' end? Because if there's misunderstanding and misconception at educators' end, and they are implementing something which they are calling it as STEM education, whereas it is not, then the students are not going to get the impact. So, how do you see this thing?
I had a technical difficulty. I cannot hear you right now. Go ahead.
So,
Okay.
okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to repeat myself. So, what I asked is that talking about the perspectives that you have shared, what do you think about the common misunderstandings and misperceptions about the implementation of STEM education from the educators? Because when they are not going to understand what actually STEM education is, and when they say that they are doing it and actually the students are not getting the impact, the whole effort is going to be of no use. So how do you see this thing? How can they actually kind of from where should they start? But first I want you to educate us about the basic misconceptions about this thing.
Okay. Well, I think that one of the issues is a lot of the teachers, particularly in the lower level grades and even through the upper level grade, they're not they're not trained as physicists. They're not trained as engineers or technology people. Here in the United States, they would be called elementary education or
Hmm.
education. right? So they study and they look about, how to do education,
True.
most productively, etc. But they don't have the science background, right? So
Mm.
one of the key elements, this is really important,
Yeah.
is to understand, and I'm talking to educators around the world now that are
Yeah.
not trained in physics and chemistry and advanced mathematics, etc., that all
True.
these resources are available for you to bring into your classroom,
Mm.
beginning pre-K, K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All these colleges and universities across the United States and the world are offering resources. Museums are offering curriculum. Very interesting. There's all kinds of resources that are available from corporations who are filling this pipe. And one of the really interesting advantages that
Yeah.
unfortunately COVID brought was that we have, so much education has had to be delivered through computers and cell phones. And so
Mm.
there's an entire spike, there's an increase in the amount of educational opportunities that are can be delivered through computers. There's also the ability to have things delivered to your school that are sort of education in a box. It can be drones, it can be robots, it can be all these different elements, all the chemistry, uh, instrumentation, all this kind of stuff, all made. It just doesn't give you a test tube. It gives you an entire program, an entire curriculum, right? So
True.
it's made to take it off the shelf and immediately start teaching your kids. So think of that first grade teacher, second, third, fourth, fifth grade teacher who does not have a technical or mathematical background can now have the confidence to teach STEM
Mm.
in his or her
Yes.
classroom without a STEM education themselves. That's a critical thing because they need to build the confidence to say, I can
Yes.
do this. I can teach my kids, even though I don't have a physics degree. I would say that is the number one thing that
Okay. Great.
the attitudinal change, and really all the resources that are available in the world, both free and not
Mm.
free, are available to help in that situation. And then think about the acceleration that can occur from that mindset, right?
True, true, true. So it's, Ken, as you have mentioned about a very crucial aspect of professional development for these teachers to actually understand what STEM education is. So if the schools or the educators out there wish to connect with you and your organization to get benefit, so what's the procedure? What's the way out? If you can just guide us about that.
Well, that would be great. Well, I guess the first thing to do is our website is nstem.org. So
Okay.
NSTEM as a national STEM, right?
It's
STEM,
nstem.org.
nstem.org. And my personal email is hechtk at nstem.org. That's, of course, on our website. The best thing to do is go to our website. And if you want to reach out to me personally, you can click on leadership and you'll go right to my email. You'll have my phone number. You'll have everything right there. You can
Great.
reach out to our member care department, and they also have email and phone there. Uh, Eric Majors, who's the founder and CEO, is totally available. In 2014, he was the National Teacher of the Year in the United States for sustainability, and he went to the White House twice to get awards
Wow.
for that. So that is really the founder. I'm the president, and then we have the director of chapter services, Patricia Kitchens, as well, and then Susanna as well. So we have a 4-team executive staff. We have approximately 100 other people, interns, who work to drive the success and the expansion and the help that we give people here at the National STEM Honor Society. So really, it's best to go to nstem.org and click on me and reach out, and I'd be thrilled to speak with anybody about anything they'd want to talk. I'm available for public speaking appearances, for other podcasts and video casts just like this one, and I'd be thrilled to meet with whomever would like to meet with me, and we'd be thrilled to speak to whatever groups that people thought would be appropriate.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Ken. It will be a great opportunity for the educators out there to get benefit from the one who is actually the custodians of the global expansion of STEM education. So before that we wrap up, I just wanted to know that, Ken, when it comes to STEM education, how do you see it? Like, is it like, okay, so it's a mindset which is about that you have to be flexible, you have to adopt an approach in which you don't need to compromise on your individuality, go with the skill that you have, and then further with training and with student centered approach in that bit. So how do you see this growth of mindset linking with STEM education? Is it, do you see any kind of relationship in between, and if yes, how do you perceive it?
Well, I think a practical thing to do.
Hmm.
Teachers are extremely busy. They're some of the most busy people in the whole world, right? They're very busy. So it's really about, in a way, it's about time management and goal setting. Where, right now, let's say you're teaching third graders and, you
Yeah.
really don't have STEM.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is set a goal to set, okay, I want to set 5% of my, or a
Okay.
half hour a week or an hour
Mhm.
a week to begin to focus myself on them, do the research, what's out there, contact us if you'd like, and research how you can have the National STEM Honor Society, have your kids recognized, because what we do is we provide this track, right? So the kids have to do A, B, and C, and
Right.
brings them all together to really get involved. So it's really it's a path, it's a path that is described. So that would, but I would say that people really need to just start putting a little bit of time and then more and more and more of their teaching mindset and day into STEM. They've got to, gradually bring it more and more into their minds and then into their classrooms.
Great, great. So, Ken, you also talked about PBL, that there's a lot of integration of PBL when you're implementing this bit, going to different schools. So, it can be integrated with any curriculum that the school is, currently implementing,
Yeah.
or do they need to go for any customization when it comes to the implementation?
Well, one of the things that it's really the one that needs customization is usually the grading, the grades. Like, what are the
Oh,
grades in STEM classes? So, the first requirement is a certain grade level in
right.
science, technology, engineering, and math. And one of the things that we do is now we're really researching, and it looks like we found some very good resources on grade conversion. So we can say, oh, here's what we require in the United States. What is that equivalent in, for example? And
Okay.
so is one of the big things we're doing right now. But one of the things, as we we just got our first chapter in Kenya. We just got our first chapter in Ecuador, and
Wow.
focused on 27 other 27 countries, and then there's 182 countries, I believe, in the world. We'll be in every single country, but one of the key things we want to do is work with some of the early schools. Say if it was in Pakistan, some really some schools that were very into it that said, okay, let's work together. And we would work with those schools to develop the equivalent grading system. So that would be in addition to the special nature and the honor of being in Pakistan, for example, to be the first National STEM Honor Society chapter forever in Pakistan.
Great.
That would also come with the ability to work with us to make sure
Wow.
we're thinking correctly about the grade point requirement, right? Because every country is different, and we want to understand fully so that we can agree on, yes, this is the grade point requirement. This is the scholastic achievement that has to be made to be the equivalent of what we have here in the United States.
Right, that's great. That's great. So, Ken, you've already mentioned that there's a thorough guidance starting from pre to K. You've also mentioned that it's not from pre to K, it's from pre to K to career. So, the women or the young girls who are pursuing their career in STEM fields, so there's a proper kind of support in terms of the guidance or the professional development. Is it also a part of National STEM Honor Society?
Well, I would say it's in the leadership function, yeah. But
Okay.
it's really about the leadership area of, each chapter, for example, has a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer, and a vice president of social media. So really, this is where the leadership stems from. So if there's a one,
Mm.
your folks, a young woman who's in
Yeah.
university and she's
Okay.
of the National STEM Honor Society chapter of that university. That's very,
Nice.
and there's an executive team at each.
Okay.
Think of it also for the younger students in grades 5, 4, 6, 7, where they are literally
Mhm.
at grade 5. They're the president of their National STEM Honor Society chapter. So they get the experience of running the chapter, putting together the agendas, helping everyone understand, well, what are the project-based learning and enrichment activities that we want to do? Are we into sustainability? Do you want to do robots? Do you want to do drones, coding, AI? What are all the things that the chapter wants to do? And that's where the leadership comes in of, really guiding the entire group. So these are the kinds of things, and these are where leadership comes from. And it's the personal growth aspect that we're after,
Great.
for your
So
kids.
it's really it's really inspiring, to be honest, because when it comes to STEM education, it was always a need to have an organization who can actually create global impact. Because if an organization is creating impact in one region and other, obviously when they will be together, they're going to be more force. But one organization like yours, National STEM Honor Society, is doing an incredible job. And the best thing that I liked about is it's not focusing on one age group. It's like starting from pre to K to career, and then you're focusing on the professional development, then on the experiential learning. And the best bit is that it is entirely focused on student centered learning and experience as well. So this is something great. And talking about like 27 spots and countries, it's a great achievement. And we wish you guys all the best. And because the more you're going to expand, the more impact will be, it will be a ripple effect, which is going to benefit all the educators and learners out there. So Ken, thank you so much for sharing these valuable insights and your passion actually for empowering women and girls through STEM education. We really appreciate your time. And before that we wrap up, any advice for the girls and women out there who are passionate about pursuing STEM education or stepping into STEM careers?
I would just say you can do this. There are just Google it, go to artificial intelligence, anything you want, and just plug in, girls in STEM, women in STEM, organizations for women in STEM, organization for girls who code. I mean, the amount of support out there, your organization, is just astounding.
Thank you.
And plug into the worldwide network that's available. We're going to be One of the things we're going to be doing this year is developing our worldwide chapter advisor network. Meaning, there's an educator at each chapter who's in charge of the chapter, right? And then there's
Great.
chapter officers and students in those chapters. So we're going to be developing worldwide networks so that chapter advisors can talk to one another around the world and see what's working in Pakistan and see what's working in New York and LA. And then the
Wow.
students can do the same, where they'll have forums where they can talk to kids in Pakistan about what they're doing. And then the kids in Pakistan can understand what's happening in Chicago and what's happening in Ecuador and what's happening in Kenya. So this is where we're going. Okay. We're giving you a little view here. The other
Wow.
thing exciting that you should know about is, and we're just starting it now, is for the recognition. It's for our more or less our graduation ceremonies. We are developing something that is akin to an Olympic opening ceremony. So if
Oh.
there's a number of schools in a district or in a county or a community or a state that want
Mhm.
to recognize their kids all at once, and the schools that participate, we're working in Chicago right now. We just got 17 chapters. May, June, we're going to have these 17 schools march in one after the next with their own music playing. And we have Olympic medals that are this big, so for the kids can get Olympic looking medals as members of the National STEM Honor Society. So this is really exciting where it is today, but the National STEM Honor Society is growing and changing and evolving to meet the needs of tomorrow and to gain great excitement with respect to the inspiration and recognition of our students who do the work to accomplish the things required to become members of the National STEM Honor Society.
Great, more power to you guys. And it sounds really exciting because it's something regarding international student collaboration. So it
That
is
is,
going to be a global virtual platform where they can connect with each other and they can learn from each other. This is going to be really exciting, and I'm sure that it will actually inculcate and build more curiosity in the learners to pursue for these fields and for these subjects as well.
that's right. You've got, and so it's an exciting thing we're working on now. And this year we're going to begin that. So it's really going to be exciting.
We look forward to the implementation of this amazing initiative that you have planned to do. So, and I'm sure you guys will be super successful in that. Thank you so much, Ken, for your time. And we have actually learned a lot in terms of what strategies are required when it comes to the implementation of STEM. Then you talked about the professional development, the importance of that. Then you talked about how globally you are actually implementing together with your organization through student centered learning experience. And then the festivals and the events that you guys have organized to collaborate with those institutions is also commendable. And the resources that you have mentioned, I have actually mentioned the website. It's there right now. It's, you can see on the screen, it's nstem.org, and I would really request the educators out there to visit this website. National STEM Honor Society is doing an amazing job because, when an organization is taking the responsibility of scaling something which is the future for education sector, for educators and learners, then this is something that we should really opt for. We should actually experience, we should connect with them. And they've already mentioned that there are a couple of resources available over there which you can access for free. And then for further collaboration, you're supposed to get in touch with Ken, and he, together with his team, is going to provide you guidance. And obviously, when you wish to collaborate, there's a lot more that you can achieve. And coming towards the most exciting bit of student international collaboration platform, it's on the way. So thank you, Ken, and thank you everyone for joining us on this empowering journey. Stay tuned for more empowering stories, and remember that the future is female and it's all in STEM. So we just need to keep this in mind, keep going, and see you again in our other episode. Thank you for your time.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.